Today I noticed a really cool interaction in the Airbnb app. Of course, that app is full of interesting interactions and animations and really great design. And I saw this collapsing header effect that I thought looked really cool, kind of advanced, and immediately I wondered, could I recreate this in Flinto for Mac? So I gave it a shot, and it turned out pretty nice. I'll first show you a recording of the Airbnb app so you can see the actual thing, then my recreation, and then I'll walk you through how I did it. Let me know what other tutorials you'd like to see in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas, and I post a new tutorial every weekday. So there's this really large header with search fields in it, and as you scroll, it kind of collapses down into a single search field, and then as you continue to scroll, it changes colors to be white, and it looks kind of like a standard header with this navigation on it. So that's pretty fancy. And the other thing is, as this fades out, the bottom search field fades out a little faster than the one above it and creates a nice staggered effect. So really cool collapsing header effect. And of course I wanted to see if I could recreate that in Flinto for Mac. So here's my recreation of the Airbnb collapsing header effect made in Flinto. You can see it has that staggered fade out of the search fields, and that top search field transforms into kind of a multi-search field. And as you keep going, it turns white and ends up looking like a regular header. So I think this turned out pretty well. It's a pretty accurate recreation of their scroll header collapse effect. And let me take you through how I did it. The first thing I did was to draw a recreation of the home screen of the Airbnb app. I took a screenshot of Airbnb and just started redrawing the important elements. I made the header pretty accurate, and then the bottom part, I just kind of put these squares in here, so I didn't really get all the details, because the important thing I wanted to focus on was the interaction of the header. I put this entire thing inside of a clip group, meaning I grouped it and then turned on the clip option here so that I could resize it and have it actually clip off the content. Another thing to notice is that I put a rectangle here behind the nav so that as the nav slides up, it can actually cover over the top of these other rectangles. And then the clip group is going to allow me to have this move up with that navigation moving up and allow for it to just go right over the top of these without them showing out the bottom. So the whole thing is set up using a scroll behavior, and this content here is inside of a scroll group you can see in the layer list, and it goes all the way to the top of the screen. Even though the content's way down here, you can see that this scroll group goes all the way up. Then what I did is I made a group around the header and the scroll group, and I put a behavior on it. So let's go into the behavior designer and look at how I made it. Now it's got several states. We start out at the initial state, and this one has a scroll gesture that goes over this range from 0 to 68 and takes you to the second state, which is called partial. And I called that partial because if we look again, you can see that the first item fades out and the second item starts to fade out, and the navigation moves up a little bit. And that's sort of like the almost collapsed state. The reason I did that was to get the staggered effect where one of these fades out halfway. So that one kind of fades out. And then I have a second stage that goes to the full collapse. So those two stages were to allow for the staggered fade out where this one fades out faster than the one on top of it. So on this state, on the partial state, the scroll group has another scroll gesture that goes to the third state. And this one starts exactly where the last one left off. So you can see the start here is 68, and the end of this first one is 68. All right, so this third state, it's called collapse 1 because this is kind of like the first collapsed style. And it goes to this state, and then it goes to this final collapse state. So I called these collapse 1 and collapse 2 because it's kind of two different styles. So in collapse 1, the navigation is moved up even more, and I've crossfaded the text here. So now it says anywhere, anytime, one guest. And in the previous state, it just says anywhere. So I actually have two layers here, and one's hidden. And I just fade one in and fade the other out, so it does that crossfade. I'm just moving everything up as I go through these states. And the clip group, I'm moving that up as well, just so it follows along. So on this third state, I've got another scroll gesture, picks up where the last one left off, and I calculated the range for each of these. So like this one, the distance of this range, I made it the same distance that this moves up. So you can see that as I go to the next state, the green area shrinks. And the distance of that range, of this range here, is the same distance that the green moves up. And that gives you the effect of directly scrolling and controlling the movement. If the range was shorter, it would look like the green part is moving up faster than you scroll. And if the range was longer, it would look like it's moving up slowly. But I wanted it to look like it's moving up at exactly the same rate. Let me show you what I mean. As I scroll, this green part is moving up as if I'm just pushing it directly. It doesn't move up faster than I'm scrolling, because this stuff is not actually scrolling. It's just animating between states, and the content down here is scrolling. All right, so from this state, I just have one more range, again, calculated based on how much this changes from this state to this state. It starts where the last one left off, and then the distance is equal to the distance that that header moves. And on this one, I just changed the background color of this rectangle to be white, and I changed the color of all these text layers and this little rectangle here to the appropriate colors. And so that animation all just happens automatically. As long as I've got the ranges right, then the whole effect works. And I thought that was pretty cool to be able to create this somewhat advanced interaction in Flinto for Mac. It probably took me about a half hour to create it, from seeing it in Airbnb to drawing all the UI in Flinto to doing all the animation. So really quick to be able to create something like this in Flinto for Mac, and a really cool interaction by the Airbnb team.